So I use a variety of different cameras to make videos for this YouTube channel. And some of my favorite and most used cameras are actually by Insta360. I love their super tiny Go 2 as well as the One X2. In this video, I'm going to review this guy. This is the Insta360 One RS. Is this the only camera you need to be a moderately successful bike YouTuber? Find out in this video. Before we get started, shout out to the guys at GoFar. This is actually a brand that's based in the Philippines. As some of you may know, I was born in the Philippines, so it's cool to see bike brands coming out of there. And they make a whole line of these funky and fun gravel casual cycling jerseys. Look for a review on them in a couple weeks. So full disclosure, Insta360 did send the One RS for me to review on the channel. For this video, I'm not going to jump into all the super nerdy technical specs. There are much better reviewers that have done that already. But instead, I'm going to give you my perspective as a working YouTuber that uses these cameras to make a living. I have no aspirations to be a cinematographer or a filmmaker. I just make videos to convey a message and pass on information. So if you're not familiar with the Insta360 One RS, it is a modular camera. So what that means is this breaks apart into three pieces. There's a lens piece, a screen piece, and a battery. And you can very quickly take it apart, reconfigure it however you need. I will say this is a really cool feature on paper, but in practice, I usually tend to set it out either as the 360 or in action camera mode, and don't find myself switching too much mid-ride. It's just enough of a hassle where most of the time I won't even bother. I'll either just go out knowing I'm going to be capturing 360 footage, or I'll be vlogging with the 4K lens and using it that way. But if you are on a budget, this is a good way to kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, although you shouldn't be killing birds. I've been using this system both in action cam as well as 360 mode the last couple of weeks, so I think I'm just going to jump into my pros and cons. The first big pro is that it's super responsive. This is such a great experience using the screen. It has all the traditional swipe features that you would expect, and the menu, although a little bit small, because of the small screen, is an absolute joy to use. This is definitely much better, much more responsive than a lot of the older GoPros out there. Another thing I really like is that it's been a really stable system. I've used GoPros in the past and they are notoriously buggy. The One RS hasn't glitched or frozen up on me in the last 2 or 3 months since I've been using it. Another big pro with the One RS is that it does all the stabilization in camera now. The older version, you had to run it through some software, then they updated the firmware, then it would work in camera. But this out of the box works just as you would expect. You shoot your footage, you download the SD card, and it's already stabilized. You don't have to run it through a phone app or the desktop app, unless you're doing 360 stuff. But the regular action cam footage can go straight from camera into your NLE of choice. And speaking of software, whenever I do use the 360 module, you do have to run that through software. I usually use it to reframe and capture multiple angles from the same shot. And that desktop software is just brilliant. Relatively easy to use, pretty robust. It does add an extra step, but it's a great way to ingest 360 footage, export what you need, and put it into your editor of choice. Another big pro is that you can add external audio to the One RS with this little addition here, and it's not too bulky. It's not like the GoPro Media Mod. Here I've got an Editage ETM 008 with a little wind muff. I think this has given me the best results in terms of audio, but you can see it's a fairly trim package. And last big positive is if you do get the bundled deal, that does give you a 360 cam and a traditional action cam for, I think, a fairly decent price. Those are all the positives. What are the negatives? In terms of using this as a bike vlogging cam, there are two which are not insignificant. The first one is audio. One of the big features that was touted was that the case, when you have it in the case, there's a little wind muff hidden under here, and it does not sound great. If you want to use this as a vlogging camera, I 100% suggest getting the mic adapter, plugging it in, and using an external mic. I did a couple of audio tests, just riding and holding it arm's length like I would, so you can hear how it sounds using different mics compared to the stock mic. Hey there everybody, this is Russ and I'm doing an audio test with the Insta360 One RS. This is the stock mic. Hey there everybody, it's Russ and this is another audio test with the Insta360 One RS. This time I'm using an external mic, the Editage ETM001. I had to dial the external mic gain down to -6. Hey there everybody, it's Russ and this is another test with the Insta360 One RS. I'm using an external mic, this time the Editage ETM008, which I believe is has a little bit more of a cardioid pattern. Still set to -6, although I will balance the levels in post. Hey there everybody, this is the GoPro Hero 10. Here I have the GoPro Hero 10 inside a wind slayer, which in my experience greatly improves the audio. How does it compare to the new Insta360 One RS? Out of the mics I have, this little capsule mic I think sounds the best. It's the most directional, most like a shotgun mic. You do have to boost the levels a little bit. You can do that either in post, but when you have an external mic in here, you can actually boost the gain in camera. So you have to do a combination of both. Another negative when it comes to using this as a vlogging camera is that it's just not wide enough. I feel like it's cropped in fairly close, especially if you're shooting in a frame rate more than 30p. To get the widest field of view, you have to shoot in active HDR. I think they give you 17 or 18 mil equivalent. It gives you higher dynamic range and it looks great. Unfortunately, you're only limited to 4K 30. There is no 2.760 option, which I wish it had. So the way I tend to shoot is I'll do some piece of camera, then I'll try to capture some B-roll, and usually I slow that stuff down in post. And I can't do that in the widest setting because I'm limited to 30 FPS. You can get higher FPS to slow down more, but it crops into a 20, which then feels a little too close for vlogging in my opinion. Another con, and this applies mostly to people that take this stuff seriously, is that there aren't any ND filters for the 4K lens or the 360 mod. So what this means is you can capture all this fast motion, but it'll always look a little action cammy. Contrast that with the GoPro Hero 10 or other GoPro cameras, but they have a whole line of ND filters. And this is important because it gives you motion blur, which allows you to communicate that speed of riding a bike. The last con applies to when you have it in 360 mode. You have to put it on some kind of tripod mount, then attach said mount to a selfie stick. And this is generally okay, but the way that 360 video works is that in order for the software to erase the selfie stick, this has to be perfectly in line. So here it's a little bit off. So if you're riding with this and you hit a bump and it does that, it's gonna ruin the illusion. So I wish they had a 360 specific case where instead of going into GoPro fingers, it was just a regular tripod mount. So something where it would work like this. This is the One X2. As you can see, the selfie stick goes right into the camera. There is no opportunity for this to go off axis. And because of that, I think 360 footage just looks the best out of the One X2. That's not to say it's impossible to get that done with this, but there is just more opportunity for error. That said, using the 360 with a chesty is just amazing. It looks super stabilized, like you have a gimbal, like you're flying with the bike. Okay, should you get it? Who's this for? Which is better, the Insta360 One RS or the GoPro Hero 10? So here's the deal. I think if you're on a limited budget and want to have both 360 capability as well as traditional action cam shooting, then kind of a no-brainer, get the bundled package. I would highly suggest getting the mic adapter and this mic. I'll link in the description below. Yes, they are affiliate links. If you want to use this as a bike vlogging setup. If you have no interest in 360, then get the GoPro Hero 10. It has a ton of advantages. You can do ND filters, higher frame rates. The Hero 10 is probably the best GoPro out there. It's the most stable one I've used, and I've been using them for, I don't know, about 15 years. But let's say you're an absolute baller and you want the best of the best compact cameras. I would get a GoPro Hero 10 for that piece to camera and B-roll traditional action cam footage. And I would pair that with the X2 for 360 specific shots. This, my friends, is a killer combo. You can get your piece of camera and then you can self-film with the 360 and you've got all your bases covered. Again, links to the camera and this microphone in the description below. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll be sure to answer them. And before you leave, don't forget to stop by our sticker shop. We've got some new stickers. This one is one of my current favorites. It's a Haitian saying, behind mountains are more mountains. And we've also got these groovy new retro style stickers saying party pace and unserious cyclists. As always, everybody, keep the supple side down.